Hello, fellow travelers. Welcome back to Respawn Station. My name is Kandula, and today I'm joined by Nick Sivak once again for another live episode. Last week, and first of all, if you were like, hold on, last week was 31, and this is 33, or last episode. Sorry, I did that. Yeah, I think I said that right. Anyway, if you're confused about the episode titles, that was all to say. We were off air last week, and instead we published an interview that we did with a very French developer. I should have. I rushed into this. I should have come in with a French intro or something. But no, I recommend checking it out. It's about an hour long. It's a little over an hour long. An hour that kind of flew by. It was a very interesting conversation because, he's Matthias, who is a developer from Onric Worlds, the solo developer behind Zephyr, Thief's Melody. He's been working on this game for over a decade at this point, and so it was his we got the chance to kind of talk to him about how that journey's been and what his inspirations are, and it was a really good conversation. So I highly recommend checking it out. You can check it out now on watch.respawnstation.com. The full, mostly unedited. I mean, there's some small stuff that are kind of spliced out, but the rest is just the full conversation. So 100% recommend checking it out. Now, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, pardon me, Nick, if I'm a little rusty, because it has been 2 weeks since we were on air. But before we get into the main topic and the main kind of, I'm stumbling over my words.
The flow, the show.
Now we're rapping. Nick has another sick and twisted game for me to play, so I can embarrass myself in front of everyone. So Nick, take it away.
Yep. Basically, seeing as we had our interview go up, but as you mentioned, we've kind of not recorded for a little bit here. At least we've been very consistent since we started, and this was a little break that
the
we
longest
had.
lull.
So, yeah. To get us back into the groove, I thought it'd be fun to subject you to more guess the character.
Oh, you thought it'd be
who's
fun?
That
huh?
character, whatever I called it.
Yeah. All right.
So,
well, I mean, I see the
time,
aptly numbered characters in front of me that I have to listen to and guess.
Yep.
And
basically, I know what they are. And you are, like you said, you're going to be listening to them fresh for the first time and then guessing the characters. I said this before we started recording, but you might have a little bit of a harder time with this one. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
There's at least one that I know you'll know, maybe two.
Hold on. Last week, last episode, last time we did this, okay? It was one that you might not get. Now it's one that I might know. This is talk about a curve. Oh my god!
I'm not sure. You might know more. There's one that you definitely know, but I'm spoiling too much at this point.
All right.
So,
well, I guess there's no better way to continue than to start the show. So here we go. Obviously, of course, you can play along down in the comments and see if you can get a perfect 5 out of 5 for yourself. So play along. Here we go. Character 6.
Space. Gotta go to space. Lady. Ooh, lady. Ooh, lady. Ooh. Let's go to space. Space. Go into space. Can't wait. Space.
Okay. Something about space. There's my mind immediately. First of all, the first thing I thought was Claptrap, and I was like, no, it's not robotic enough, and it kind of sounded like Invader Zim, if I'm being honest. That was what my mind went to. But
I'd say you thinking robots, you're on the right track.
If I'm thinking robots, I'm on the right track.
I'm not sure if you've played this game or not. This is one that I'm not sure that you would get, but
Okay, all right. You know what? Then I mean, I'll do Portal, and it's the I don't know what it's called.
I'll give it to you. It's Portal 2. It's
Portal.
called the Space Core.
The Space Court. You know what? I have not played Portal, but the fact that you said I might not have played it, and I think last episode I guessed something from Portal. Like I was like, is this a character from Portal? I knew it had to eventually be a Portal character. Oh my god! All right, so Portal 2.
Yeah,
you said the Space Core.
Yeah, it's like a little AI core that's obsessed with just
Oh.
going to space. That
Wow,
plays
I
a
did
part
get those. I
in
did
the
get that
game.
tendency. I didn't get that. Okay. Okay. One was that the character that you were thinking that I would get?
No,
Oh,
I didn't think you would get that one.
I'm
so.
getting two. I'm getting two. I hope. All right, here we go. Character, like the second character for the show. Is Luigi? It's either Mario or Luigi, I think. Hold on, I gotta play that back. Let me run. Okay, all right. No. Let's stop. It keeps playing.
Which one? There's two Italian brothers, both plumbers.
Yeah. Does Mario chuckle that much? Is he that happy in life?
Mario's a pretty happy guy.
Yeah.
Luigi's usually a little bit more scared.
Yeah, I'm
a
gonna
little
say
bit more worried.
Fuck. You're trying to help me here. That's gonna fuck me up. I think it's Mario because that woo. I don't know, something about that woo got me. I think it's Mario. I'm gonna lock it in.
You guessed right. It
2
is
out of
Mario
2.
from Super Mario 64.
Oh, yeah, I didn't guess the
specifically.
game. Super Mario 64. Sure. Yeah. Okay.
We'll give it
2
to you.
for
You're on a
2?
roll, Sri.
Wow.
This one's another one that I'm not sure you'll get, but we'll see.
I'm fighting against the odds the entire way through, Nick. All right, here we go. The next one.
Whoa!
Oh my god. Oh my god. I gotta play that again. Hold on. Okay. Did you edit this, by the way, or is it just like?
I grabbed it from like a sound
Because I can
like,
hear the
clip
who
video.
It's just like cuts between all these grunt sounds. Did you have? I was wondering if you had to procure these grunt sounds yourself, or are they locally sourced grunt sounds?
Yeah, there was a compilation online
Okay.
that I snagged it from.
See, okay, that last one, that one, I feel like I can picture like a character animation of someone passing out. Like I don't know why. That's the vibe I get.
Mhm.
You know, like stars above the head, and then you tilt forward. You said this is another one that I might not have played. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar if you've played it or not.
Okay. This sounds like another Nintendo thing, but
I'll say to give you a hint, it's not Nintendo, but it is another platformer.
Oh. Okay. It's not a. Fuck. I'm gonna say, like Rayman.
Is that your lock in?
I have to. I don't think I can come up with another 3D platformer. Or not.
You
Sorry.
missed it. You broke your
fuck.
streak,
What is
Sri.
it?
That's Crash Bandicoot.
Crash,
From Crash Bandicoot 4.
Oh,
It's about time.
Man. Oh, I haven't played it, but now hold on. Let me listen to it again.
Whoa!
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's the woes are kind of the clue there.
Whoa. Okay. All right. Fuck. 2 out of 3 though. Not bad. I like those odds so far. But no. Honestly, I don't even know what Rayman sounds like. I don't know what Rayman grunts are or like.
I've played Rayman Legends, and yeah, I can't recall what kind of noises Rayman makes either.
I feel like I am right with the passing out though. I feel like that does give me like I can almost like picture it now. All right, well, all right. Let's see if I can go 3 for 4 with the next character, the penultimate character. Here we go. Oh, there we go.
Got a shard for you. Intel. Interesting stuff.
Got a shard. Is this shards are in Borderlands? I think. I gotta listen to that again.
Got a shard for you. Intel. Interesting stuff.
Got a shard for you. Intel. Interesting stuff. Got a shard for you. It sounds like a strong female character.
Mm-hmm.
Got a shard for you. What? Everything uses
A
shards.
tomb, you might say.
Oh my god.
I love this game.
Oh my god. Hold on. I almost got it. It's the not Pan Am, it's the girl, it's the woman that gives you the mission that you meet at the afterlife, right? And then and then she gives you, and then that's how you bang her as Keanu Reeves, and you get her the Porsche. Is that specific enough?
Sure. You got all the details.
Oh my gosh.
Her name is Rogue from Cyberpunk 2077.
Rogue. Yes. Okay. See Pan Am, and then I had to work backwards.
It's honestly more impressive that you had all those details down, but not the name.
I'm terrible with names, and I hope people understand that. I'm not just saying it. I can remember details very well, but yeah, names that's a struggle. So this is an extra. But Nick, I am 3 for 4. I'm coming out against these odds. If I don't know if what was it, sports book DraftKings, whatever I don't know what they're they're running the odds here, but I'm beating them. All right, last one to start the episode. Here we go.
Outcome? Train go boom.
Fuck you. How come train go boom? All right, well, it's the dude from Black Ops 3. Okay, I don't know what the hell his name is.
Yeah, there's no way you're gonna get the name.
He's the
John Taylor.
John Taylor. But yeah, he's the. First of all, that's a huge throwback, because if you've listened to the show, the Train Go Boom is something I have referenced that Nick was not aware of. Or he's played the game, but just I guess the Train Go Boom didn't quite stick.
It didn't stick, no, until recently. So. John Taylor, though. What a name.
John Taylor, yeah. Well, Train Go Boom. Couldn't have said it better myself. 4 out of 5, Nick. That's an 80%. I passed yet another episode of the game that you've named that I'm not going to repeat, because you have to say the name.
Who's that character?
That's what I said. That was a good one.
That just means I have to, get some harder ones here.
No, that's not what that means. That's not what that means.
You're just hitting all these.
No, I definitely. I think you've kind of nudged me along in several places. I don't know if that was I could have called that a solo endeavor. I think that was pretty hard, actually. I don't know if I passed. But no, honestly, that did ease me back into it, Nick, because now I'm in the flow. I got everything down. I know how to host an episode now. But of course,
perfect.
The way we host around here, we start by asking ourselves a very important question. Nick, what are you playing?
Yeah, so obviously been continuing in the spooky games for the season. We are in October as of the time of recording, and we're
Next episode
Closing
will
in on
be
Halloween.
well, yeah. Next episode will be the big Halloween episode. I don't know if we have anything planned, but come back next week to find out if we have anything planned. But yeah,
It's just going to be an hour of us eating candy into the microphone.
yeah, ASMR is actually we're gonna switch lanes to ASMR and exclusively guess the character. That's the entire show. we eat candy corn.
Nice. But yeah, last episode that we recorded, I only touched on briefly, but I was playing Silent Hill 2 Remake.
That's true.
The big Bloober remake coming out here.
Honestly,
and, I've since
Bloober's
finished it.
Bloober's kind of killing it right now. We're going to talk about that later in the main topic of the show. But yeah, how is Silent Hill 2 Remake? Have you finished it, and how is it treating you?
Yep, I did finish it. It's very good.
Okay. That was a scary hesitation there. You paused. Rather dramatic.
Yeah, because I wanted to get my words right, because it's not perfect. Definitely go into it knowing that, but it is. I think it's a very good modernization of the original game. They make new choices here and there in a variety of ways, from expanding areas, kind of shifting things around. Obviously, the camera perspective is different. It's like a more third-person kind of Resident Evil-esque camera versus the original, which had like pseudo-fixed cameras for a lot of it.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of changes made here, but the broad strokes of everything, like the theming, the presentation, the kind of overall vibe, that stuff is all carried over relatively, unchanged, right?
Mm-hmm.
The combat has gotten a dramatic overhaul. Nobody really plays Silent Hill 2, the original, for the combat. It's not really like a combat heavy game.
How dare
it's
you?
there, but
How
like
dare you?
You're basically hitting things with a board and like occasionally shooting a gun. That's the combat, right? And so the remake's combat is definitely a lot more engaging than the original. This you still have like melee weapons and guns that you will find throughout the game, but it's a lot more up close and personal, I guess. The camera animates in like kind of a very extreme way when you go in for melee attacks and when you dodge. And I saw somebody online, I forget who, but they kind of made a comparison to like how melee works in Last of Us. And once I saw that, I was like, I can see that. So, just kind of like a more dynamic, more visceral kind of melee sort of system. And James also, James is the main character. He gets a stomp move that is made it very reminiscent of like Dead Space, which he could stomp in the original, but like it's very like labored and an intense kind of stomping that you get to do against these horrific creatures in Silent Hill. But yeah, I think it's very fun. It definitely takes a lot of cues from Resident Evil, specifically like Resident Evil 2 Remake, in that you're exploring an area, trying to solve puzzles and then getting into like combat encounters. And I'd say that there's a bit of resource management, but I was playing on normal throughout the whole game. And by the end of the game, I had like 25 of both type of healing items and like a ton of ammo. So if you're the type of person to kind of like fully explore your environment, like if you're playing on normal, you'll be loaded on stuff. It's very spooky. I'll say that.
Is it actually like, did it? I mean, obviously, or it's Halloween time. Did it get you in the spooky Halloween mood?
Yeah, it definitely scratches that itch. I'd say it's probably one of the better, like, if you're looking for a scary game to play right now, I'd probably say Silent Hill 2 Remake's a pretty good choice. It's because the thing is with Silent Hill and like the original Silent Hill 2, there's not a whole lot of like jump scares. It's definitely like a slow burn psychological horror, and like a lot of it's about like the vibe and like the feeling you get like exploring this town and these,
Sure.
decrepit environments. And you still get that throughout the remake, but they do kind of inject some elements that also give the occasional jump scare. So I will say, like, go into it knowing that, like, if you're, somebody that shies away from jump scares, it's not like every, 10 minutes or anything. Like, they spread them out pretty
But
well.
did they work on
at
you?
least for the, the like controlled developer placed ones, I guess I'll say.
Sure.
There's this really, this one enemy that really just kind of grinded my gears throughout the game, because it's these mannequins, and like it's a set of mannequin legs, and then the top part is also a set of like inverted mannequin legs.
Mm-hmm.
So they look a little bit creepy, but they changed how these enemies work from the original. So in the original, they were kind of like similar to just the standard enemies where they'll like walk around and like hit you. But I should preface this by saying, in Silent Hill, at least for Silent Hill 2, you find a radio, and the radio emits static when enemies are nearby. So like you can walk into like a completely pitch black room, and if your radio is going off, you're like, okay, there's probably something in here waiting for me. The mannequins, they don't emit static unless they're moving like at you.
Sure.
So they can like set up in a room and like freeze themselves, and they won't make any static until like you see them or whatever. But the mannequins in the remake, in addition to doing that, they also will play hide and seek with you, basically, where like you can see the enemy, and then it'll just like walk into another room, and then you like kind of like walk into the room looking around, you got your flashlight up, and then you'll see it like hiding behind a corner, like a little bit of its leg is sticking out, or what often happens is they're like contorted in such a way where they're completely hidden, and then you round the corner and they jump at you and they hit you. So it's kind of like a jump scare, but it's also like
a bit
kind
more
of
organic?
dynamic in that it's not where, they're not planting it there. It's just all based on
where
AI
you are
of these
and
enemies.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That sounds intense.
The lighting is like pretty incredible throughout. It's a very dark game at times. I think a little bit too dark in some situations. It's definitely one of those games where it's like your flashlight shows like 5 feet in front of you, and like
someone turn on the damn lights.
Exactly. They kind of build stuff around that, but it's honestly that's the kind of vibe you want going through like a spooky game like this. Like I think you want it to be like kind of oppressively dark throughout.
Yeah.
And yeah, like overall, I had a lot of fun with it. It definitely feels like it's the atmosphere and the vibes of a Silent Hill game with like the gameplay of like Resident Evil, but not quite as actiony as Resident Evil. Like I don't want to say Resident Evil and think like Resident Evil 4,
3,
where you're like knife parrying and roundhouse kicking people. You're not really doing that. James isn't exactly that capable, but if you go into it thinking about like the broad strokes of how modern Resident Evil games work, this will feel very familiar to you.
I think that's kind of what I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
That Resident Evil treatment is, I think, what Silent Hill needed. And, as someone who's been wanting to get into Silent Hill for so long, it's always been the thing of, even like fans of the, and actually I don't remember if you said this to me specifically as well, but like I've heard, I've talked to people who are fans of Resident Evil, and I always get, oh yeah, I love Resident Evil, but like, or sorry, Jesus, I switched my topics. I love Silent Hill, but I wouldn't recommend playing them, because it's just like, the old ones are just, they aged a little roughly perhaps, and the remasters or whatever that they came out with, like I heard they're not optimal either.
The PS3 and 360 ones, they're famously botched remasters.
Yeah. So it's nice that we've gotten that kind of AAA treatment out of, quote unquote AAA. I mean, Bluebird Team is an indie team, and it's awesome that they're getting. Look, this is one of those crazy situations where I'm really happy that you've you said the game's really good, because it seemed that maybe not to the degree of Concord, but like from the get-go, the cards were stacked against this game of like, there's no way Bluebird could pull this off. Like, like there's just,
Sure.
it was kind of that, it was an uphill battle for them right from the start. And so I'm glad that they were able to stick the landing and kind of prove themselves a bit.
Which, to be fair, there was like, anytime somebody's coming on the scene and is like, we're remaking one of the best games ever made, that's going to cause a lot of concern for people.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said before, like, it's not perfect. I think there's definitely rough edges here with like the visuals. It's a really good looking game, but like things like reflections and like lighting around reflections looks a little bit janky. There's a couple spots when I played that, like the frame rate was a little bit inconsistent. I know they've been patching the game recently, so I'm not sure. I haven't been reading the patch notes, so I don't know if they're addressing specifically those kinds of things. But technically, there's a little bit of rough edges, and if you are somebody that is intimately familiar with the original, while I said the broad strokes remain the same, there are some details and stuff that get either expanded on that weren't in the original, or are like slightly reorganized or shifted around. And so you might prefer like certain ways that scenes were handled in the original versus the remake. That's kind of more of a subjective thing, though. Like, it's going to be hard to say whether or not, you specifically will care about some of those things. But yeah, I mean, outside of those things, like, it took me about 16 hours to finish, which is essentially like twice as long as the original. I remember the original only took me like maybe 7 or 8 hours. So they definitely do expand a good bit of the locations. And I think the game could have maybe trimmed a little bit. There are some areas specifically that I think drag on a little bit too long and aren't really, introducing a whole lot of new stuff. But at the same time, it's like I was never really like actively not having fun while playing those. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like I'm a little mixed on. It's like I didn't love it, I didn't hate it, but yeah, overall I think it's really good. I think if you're looking to get into Silent Hill and you want to play this remake, I say go for it. Obviously, it would be nice if they could find a way to make like a nice port of the original so we could have both and people could play, both and see the differences for themselves. But yeah, I'd say if you're looking for something spooky to ring in the season, this is going to be a really good one to get your hands on.
Hell yeah. Now, you've not just been going to Silent Hill. I don't know if is that the place? Is that the name of the town? Is that what it's saying?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. You've not just been going to Silent Hill. You've also been going to the Lake House, the new expansion for Alan Wake 2, just in time for, once again, the spooky season. Nick, how's the Lake House treating you?
A little mixed, unfortunately.
No!
I am a big fan of the base game of Alan Wake 2, and I was a big fan of the first DLC that came out earlier this year, Night Springs.
Right.
So I was going into the Lake House being like, yes, let's do this. It's obviously got some ties to Control, which is, they're trying to expand both of these universes together. So I was like, oh, I'm sure we're going to get some teases at future Remedy stuff. And also it looks unlike the Night Springs. It looks like they're really kind of leaning into the more horror stuff, which Alan Wake 2 obviously was a survival horror game.
Right.
/ action game, I guess.
Is that Janina Gavankar?
Yes.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, she plays Agent Estevez in the base game, and she is who you play as in the Lake House.
Oh, okay.
She's kind of like an agent for the Federal Bureau of Control. Yeah, I was a bit mixed on it. I did finish it in one sitting. It's pretty short. It only took me about like 2 hours. So it felt like an additional chapter of the like Night Springs DLC, because the Night Springs one was like separated into 3 different chapters. This kind of felt like a slightly longer other chapter of that, basically. And yeah, it like I'll start off with the things I like. It definitely has like the spooky vibes that the base game more so explored, and I think visually it's it's very cool. There's these new enemies that they have that are, I think they're just called the Painted, but there's these graffitied walls all throughout the lake house, and these painted enemies will come out of the walls and they'll like
Oh.
grab you, they'll chase after you. The first time you interact with them, you don't really have a way of fighting them, so you kind of have to run away. And that is kind of in contrast to the regular enemies in Alan Wake, because usually if you have a flashlight, you're able to, weaken an enemy and then start taking them out. But these ones, they kind of throw a wrench in that. And yeah, they can just kind of like disappear. You kind of hear like water like squelching or something. And
Mm.
that's kind of like the paint moving around on the
Oh, sure.
walls and
Yeah.
stuff. So they definitely do some cool stuff with the painted enemies. And it obviously plays into the narrative as well, why they're there. And thematically, I think the lake house is playing with some really interesting stuff. Alan Wake 2 obviously is a very meta game. You'll hear a lot of people say that. It's a very like it comments on things, and it's like it kind of plays with the idea that it's a video game at times. A lot of Remedy games do that. And one of the core themes of the Lake House is actually talking about like AI art and how
Oh.
people interpret art. And I think it's a really interesting kind of narrative device that they have going, because obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously, for people that aren't aware, in Alan Wake, Alan is a writer and he is trapped in a place called the Dark Place. And basically, without getting too into lore or whatever, this other dimension basically can take works of art and sort of turn them into reality. So a lot of how Alan tries to escape is by trying to write into existence his escape from the Dark Place. And people in the Federal Bureau of Control are aware of this, and it kind of ties into some of the elements of control with like objects of power and
Right.
that sort of
Yeah.
thing. And in this DLC, they're talking about how Wake's typewriter might be considered like an object of power, and so they have this entire room of typewriters that are set up to like robot typers, and it's
Mm.
like very like dystopian. There's like sirens that call, and then you just hear like 100 typewriters typing because they're trying to like generate, you know, writing that's similar to Wake's writing. It's very
Ah.
like I said, like AI art kind of thing. So there's
That's an
stuff like
interesting
that
way
that
to
I
make
think
a
is,
statement on that.
yeah. And obviously it being set in a horror game, like your mind can wander as to where, those
Right.
sorts of crossovers will go. So I really enjoyed experiencing that sort of stuff. And just like the narrative in general, it does, I'll say, set up some things for the future Control 2. Um, there's a certain character in there that's in the trailer, but I won't say it here in case people aren't, watching the trailers or whatever. But there is a character from Control that makes an appearance, and there's a very brief montage of clips that look like teaser images for a future game. So there's some cool stuff to wet your whistle there.
Control
With
2, the best name is Controller, with the double L's being the 2. There you go. You're welcome.
There you go. Pull a Resident Evil. Just
Yeah.
have the L's at the start. The thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way was the gameplay in this one.
Oh.
Unfortunately, uh, I enjoy the combat of Alan Wake. It's very almost in a way kind of like Silent Hill and Resident Evil, where you're kind of dodging, you're blasting enemies with your flashlight, and then shooting a bunch, right? So it's fairly action packed. But in the DLC inside the lake house, a lot of the combat encounters are kind of, well, I should say this. it felt like it was relatively combat light, but then also when you were getting into combat, a lot of the encounters seemed like they were a little bit messy in their execution.
Sure. Okay.
And by that I mean they have like a bunch of enemies in a really tight area, so like trying to dodge is pretty challenging, trying to manage resources is obviously a little bit of a challenge, but usually those things you can really, overcome. In the base game, sort of like Silent Hill 2, I remembered being like loaded up on healing items and resources, so it was never really an issue. But in the DLC, I feel like I found like a band-aid like twice. And like I was,
They were used both times.
exactly. Like it was like I feel like they would just, no matter what, anytime I opened up like a thing to loot, it was like ammo or flares, but never healing items. And so when you're getting into these very confined combat fights where you're probably going to get hit because there's like 3 enemies in front of you and somebody that's teleporting behind you to hit you with a throwing axe or whatever, like you're probably going to take damage. And again, I don't know if I was just like getting unlucky or if like there is something tweaked with the drop rates for items, but it felt like I just wasn't getting a whole lot of healing items. And then there's a final boss encounter, and I essentially entered this boss encounter with like a third of my health bar, and there's items spread around that you can loot in the arena, but obviously you have like somebody coming up on you or like throwing projectiles at you, and you have to like open these cans and then like position the camera so you can see what's inside so you can loot and everything. And then even then I still wasn't really getting like healing items, and if I did, I'd have to open up my menu because they weren't like on my quick selection. So then
Dang.
it's just like trying to juggle a whole bunch of things. And I had to like, I ended up having to drop the difficulty down because I was like, okay, I seriously am just getting punched twice and dying like 30 times in this fight, and I can't get my healing items. So it's the thing where it's like, it just, many of those aspects, like even the puzzles in it, a lot of them kind of boil down to just finding like passwords for computers and stuff. So it just felt like the puzzles weren't as satisfying. The combat was like a little bit irritating, which was kind of grinding on me. I really liked like exploring the lake house. I liked, the vibes, and I liked kind of where the narrative was going, but from a gameplay perspective, I thought it was a lot messier than the base game and even the last DLC, which I thought was, just kind of an extension of the base game combat and all that.
Well, that's unfortunate. I know you're a big Alan Wake 2 stan, so
Yeah, I would say for anybody that's on the fence about it, if you already have Night Springs, obviously play this because they sold it as a bundle. So like if you bought that, you have access to the lake house. Like obviously it's worth playing, especially if you are into Remedy stuff. I didn't like regret playing it or anything. I just kind of felt like it wasn't exactly as cohesive as I would have liked.
Sure. Well,
So I know you've been busy with something pretty big. Have you had any time to play anything?
Nick, you would think being away from the setup for 2 weeks and not streaming that I'd be ready for talk about video games. It's kind of a mixed bag. The game that I've been playing the most is actually Split Second. I've been playing a lot of Split Second. Again,
Nice.
it's like I'm bored. I gotta like a little bit of time to kill. I hop on Split Second. Now, let's see how to tackle this, the big one, because there's also another. My God, here's the thing, right? I went away and I was pretty disconnected. If you didn't know, I moved. You couldn't tell by my setup changing behind me. It's totally different now. But when I moved, I was like really, like, when I say disconnected, I wasn't checking emails. I was just kind of like focused on the moving part. And actually, that's one of the reasons why this episode was delayed from yesterday, is Wednesday normally when we do it, to today, is because I got the top of my desk, Nick, all right? And I didn't get the bottom of it for 2 freaking weeks. So I have the bottom of my table now. It's all fully set up. And and so obviously that's how we're it's a mobile operation. We're working now, but because of that, I came back now, like, over the last 2 days. I came back and there was like 80 something emails in the thing. There was like, like, hey, he's like 4 review codes, and I was like, I don't know if I can accept any of these, because it's a lot to tackle at once. That being said, there's a few games that I've been like that are like burning a hole in my game library that I'm just really excited to get to. Obviously, Quiet Place: The Road Ahead is one of them. I've not even booted it up. I don't actually have. Nick, I don't even have my consoles here. I have the only console I have is the Steam Deck, and so because my PS5 and Xbox,
the Steam Deck games check coming in clutch.
So the Xbox and the PS5 are not here yet. Now that the desk is built, I'll get them over. But Nick, this is going to be a long, weird kind of conversation. I'm going to try it. I'm going to do the weave. All right. I'm going to get back. So I got a code for a visual novel that I've been playing on the Steam Deck. I'm about a little bit over an hour in, and it's so weird. Or sorry, I didn't mean to kiss my mic. I just missed you guys. It's essentially, it's called Since Memories, and the SIN in Since is capitalized. And so, first of all, Nick, have you heard of this at all?
Don't think I have.
How I don't blame you, but here's the thing. It's called Since Memories, Off the Starry Sky. It's coming out. Oh no, sorry, it came out yesterday. So I can kind of give you guys a little bit of information about it. So it's available on PC via Steam, and again, totally didn't know anything about it. So I went on Steam to see what exactly it is, and it says the celebrated Memories of series returns. So first of all, I now know that it's a series, Nick. In a modern setting, 10 years after the original series. Nick, now I know that this has been inactive for 10 years, so I'm learning a lot from just this description here. Comes a poignant tale of grief, friendship, and mystery. So essentially, you play as Junya, who is grieving the death of his brother when he's confronted by this little girl, and plagued by his tragic past, yet surrounded by those who want to help him, Junya begins renovating a traditional Japanese manor house, a task he can't tackle alone. I have not even made it to that part of the game where I'm really kind of, renovating this traditional Japanese manor house. So to talk about my brief first impressions about this, it's interesting. It has, first of all, a really strong art style, and it's one of those games that actually it feels like an anime, because it literally starts with a title sequence, just like an anime does, and there's kind of episodes, and the episodes have end caps, like they play the they play the song, the titles or whatever, and then it goes to the next part. It's also fully voice acted in Japanese, and then you read through in in English. And then also and the last point about it is that all the other characters are voiced, but you are not. So Junya, his character, like you read your own kind of thoughts, and then you hear the narration for every other character, and all of that stuff is pretty solid. It looks really nice. It sounds really nice. The voice acting is like, I don't know what. Again, it's not a language I understand, so I can kind of only assume the kind of emotion from it, and that is all working for me so far. The only thing I'm a little bit hesitant on is that some of the translations are a little weird, and visual novels, this is kind of a common thing you'll realize if you play a lot of visual novels. Like, translations can be rough depending on what language the original game was developed in. But I think more interestingly, the game, so you are not only playing as Junya, but he's also like the main character who's narrating the story a little bit too. So like he'll, you know, you'll see what he's saying, but then he'll have like inner monologue kind of explaining stuff. And I think the biggest drawback is that the game tends to have way too much of that, like, you know, like, let me explain, like, you know, there's some sort of dialogue that's just been exchanged, and then he's like, actually, this is what happened, and then this is how it works, and I live here, but then like here is like, this is my sister, you know, it's like all this like stuff. I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, let's just focus on the narrative at hand here. So that's why I'm not able to really give solid thoughts on the game, even though I'm, again, over an hour into it, is because I feel like I'm just kind of stepping into a much bigger game than I perhaps anticipated. But nevertheless, you know, an hour and a half, as the record says, an hour and a half, and I am looking forward to seeing where it goes. So stay tuned for my thoughts on Since Memories off the Starry Sky. Now, the main thing, though, apart from that game, over the last few days, I have been playing on the Meta Quest 3S. Now, this is Meta's latest headset, and I'm not a super technical person. I mean, this is my upgrade from the PlayStation VR 1. But from my understanding,
probably a night and day difference, I bet.
But from my understanding, you know, the Meta Quest 3 is the kind of flagship device, and the brand new Meta Quest 3S is a budget version. Think of it maybe sort of like an Xbox Series S, but the difference is that the internals, kind of the computer running the thing, is actually the same as the Meta Quest 3, but the build and some of the kind of like the way that the lenses are and inside and stuff are from the Meta Quest 2. So, you know, you might be losing a little bit of image quality as opposed to the Meta Quest 3, but, you know, that it's hit or miss based on how picky of a VR consumer you are. Now, that being said, as an owner of Meta Quest 3S, I also own a copy of Batman Arkham Shadow, which before anyone goes, I have not touched yet, because there's another game that I want to, you know, Condemned Criminal Origins is a game that I have to get through first. So I've been saving Batman Arkham Shadows for a little bit later. And also it works out better because this is going to be my full kind of hands-on first impressions with the Meta Quest 3S, and then we'll have a separate discussion later on about Batman, which I'm sure I'll inevitably love. But that being said, I have spent a few hours in virtual reality, Nick, and it's so interesting because, you know, like I said, I've played the PlayStation VR, and the PlayStation VR is very much so a gaming headset, right? So you put it on and you're playing it, you know, you're booting up a game and you're playing it. This is a bit different. You can wear it a little bit more casually and do things that, you know, more intuitively than on a, you know, a PlayStation VR headset, for example. So what have I been doing? Thank you for asking, Nick. I have been checking out a few different random games from the Meta Quest Plus or whatever, which is another, like, it's a membership thing, the kind of like the PS Plus thing, but it comes for free for the first few months when you get a Meta Quest 3S. So I downloaded a few games. First game that Nick, first game I had to try, Fruit Ninja VR, and would you believe me when I say it's really fun? It's very like realistic.
I imagine
it's very realistic and like accurate. So like I'm out there just chopping at you know at some of these fruits, and I get frustrated with the bombs. So I've just gone into Zen mode, and I'm just kind of, you know, Zen moding it out in Fruit Ninja, which honestly I expected to boot it up once and be like, oh, this is cool, and then get rid of it. But no, it's I'm returning to this thing. Now
you've had 8 hours put into Fruit Ninja, is that correct?
yeah, that's I've platinumed Fruit Ninja on the Meta Quest 3S. Oh, I should also say, I think that, you know, if we're talking about first impressions, right? The putting this thing on and experiencing the pass through, that has actually been the craziest thing for me. So the MetaQuest 3S, I mean, it's the same thing with the 3, but it has all these cameras in the front. And another thing, my God, Nick, I'm all my notes that I've taken are coming back to me here. Again, going from the PlayStation VR, where you had to have the controllers with these big orbs that are glowing, you have to have the PlayStation VR camera set up, or if it's not optimally set up, it doesn't really give you good results. There's none of that here. All of the computing is done inside the headset, and the cameras that you see are both for kind of mapping out where you are in real life, but also for the pass through. And now what the pass through enables is you can put on the headset and you can see everything in front of you in reality. It's a little bit grainy if it's like a low light, because the cameras aren't top, like they're not 4K or anything. But that being said, you can see everything, and then you can have digital screens come up and you can move them around at your leisure. And there's 2 controllers, the very, very small controllers that the MetaQuest 3S comes with. But Nick, you don't even need to use the controllers. You can drop the controllers and it starts tracking your hands. And you can just kind of put again, because of those cameras on the front, you can put your hands down, and by tapping your index finger and thumb, you can interact with the menus and everything in the game, or sorry, in the headset. So earlier today, I spent a decent time. I was I'm going to get to some of the games and stuff in a second, but I had a movie up on a screen on one screen, and I was like, I can make this bigger. So I just kind of made it bigger, and I had a big screen on one side, and then I had a browser on the other, and I was like looking at. I went to Respawn Station. I was like, we're looking good, and it really is sort of that same experience that I had with the Apple Vision Pro, but at a kind of a noticeably reduced scale, and it's not the same fidelity or anything, but still it's there, it's almost there. And I think the sacrifices that are made for dropping an entire zero from the price tag, by the way, from 3,000 to 300, it's totally worth it. But to talk about the games again, and by the way, Nick, if you have any questions about this MetaQuest 3S, feel free to shoot them at me. I'll try my best to answer them. But
sure.
To kind of actually, I'll walk you through some of the headset too, because first of all, there's no headphone jack in this headset. So the only way you can connect it to Bluetooth via audio, but I have actually not even been doing that. The headset on the side actually has these built-in speakers that are aimed down at your ears. So without having headphones on, you still get the same kind of audio experience, which I found completely works perfectly fine. I don't feel and I'm not really playing games. Maybe for Batman, I'll put on, Bluetooth headphones, but for most of the games I've been playing, it's been perfectly usable. And these straps are a little bit, the whole thing takes a bit to get used to and kind of finagle to your liking. But once you do, it becomes pretty intuitive after that. With that said, what else have I been playing? There's a game called Zombieland. I think it's called Headshot Challenge or something like that. Headshot something. As a fan of the Zombieland movies, I had no idea what this was, but again, it was part of MetaQuest Plus or whatever. So I was like, let's see what it is. Really thrown off by the fact that it has sort of similar looking people from the movie. It has Jesse Eisenberg, but it's not quite him. And then it's Woody Harrelson, but it's not quite him. And Emma Stone, but it's not quite her. But to add to that effect, the voice actors that they hired are not the actors, but they are doing impressions almost of the actors. Emma Stone, it's oh, that's almost Emma Stone. But it's not. And so in a way, it almost matches the fact that you're looking at someone who's almost like Emma Stone, and they're almost speaking like Emma Stone, but nothing's right. That being said, the game itself is sort of like this. Nick, in Modern Warfare, or I guess Modern Warfare 2 as well, there's those speed trials, or like the how you determine the difficulty, right? Like you have to go through the courses and
Sure.
stuff. Imagine that, but with the zombies, and that's the game. It's just multiple versions of those. That's the Zombieland game. So I imagine it's fun in short bursts because I have to. I mean, I played like 3 houses or whatever, and I was like, that's fine. I get it. I get the gist here. But
Do you
it is.
control your character, or does it like go on rails? Like
It's
when you
on
clear?
rails. So you
Okay.
essentially like once you start an area, you have your gun in one hand, you can have a secondary weapon in your other, and once you hit A to start, as soon as you like clear an area, you can look at the spot on the floor where the next kind of checkpoint is, and it kind of walks you there, and that's how you keep progressing. And so the goal is to kind of get faster times, and part of the getting faster times isn't just shooting the zombies, it's getting headshots, as the title of the game suggests. Again, I haven't really said the title of the game because it's like headshot something, but headshots in the name of the game. So if you get headshots, you get like time slows down, giving you more time to do kind of cool stuff. There's also other enemies, so like some enemies will they're called throwers, so they'll throw stuff at you, and you have to kind of shoot those out of the way before they get to you. It's all pretty straightforward. I mean, like like when your gun has 7 bullets to start, and when you to reload, you use the thumbstick to drop the mag, and then you kind of tuck it into your belt area, and it reloads the gun. So it's very, you're not kind of like laboriously like intricate like reload mechanisms. It's pretty straightforward, and the goal is to get to the end as fast as you can. So
I believe it's Zombieland VR Headshot Fever.
Headshot Fever. Wow. You know what, Nick? You could have asked me what that second word was, and I would have not gotten to fever. I'll tell you that. But no, it's decent. It's just like I mean, it's not a game that I think I would have gone out of my way to play. Even as like someone who enjoyed the Zombieland movies, but as as something that was thrown into the MetaQuest Plus, it's a decent one to try. Now, along with both of those, there's one other thing I went into, Nick, and that's Meta Horizons, which is essentially Meta's like hub for their VR kind of content. And so what you can do is, I imagine it's kind of like PlayStation Home. At least that's what it is in my head, where it's you have this avatar that you make, and you can go through and play different games and stuff, like mini games and stuff within Meta Horizons. So you can join different rooms, and different rooms have different worlds have different kind of games. So I first joined one that was like walk around mini golf. And so I was like, let me see that. And immediately, Nick, I was thrust upon the VR world like I was never before. I mean, first of all, the
Kicked you off the cliff.
Yeah, quite literally. The headset has, a mic, and it tracks, your kind of movement. And so you're into this virtual world, and, people are walking around. There's a French guy that started just yelling at me, trying to tell me where to shoot the golf. And the paddles were it's paddle golf. So it's not even real golf. You're just kind of smacking a ball with a paddle. And I was like, this isn't fun at all. I need something more familiar. So I switched to a different map, a different game that was called Guns. That's all I really saw, and I was like, "Oh, join the world! All right, I'll go in there." And essentially, it's a free for all where you have, you can pick up guns that kind of spawn around the map, and it's a free for all, Nick. And so you're just shooting. But again, it's weird because the mic is on, so like I'm I'm struggling to fucking find a gun. And I'm like, where are these goddamn guns? And someone's like, oh man, you got to get those guns. I was like, what do you? Oh shit, you can hear me in this endeavor. And what it ended up is, Nick, I've found out that I'm absolutely garbage at this game, but I have a way with people because people gave me free guns because I was doing so poorly. Like my enemies stopped shooting at me, Nick, to bring me a weapon so that I may at least attempt to kill someone else. It was a learning curve, but honestly, that was actually super fun. I played like 20 minutes of that, in that lobby, 25 minutes or something. And it was just kind of chatting with people and, like playing the game. It feels like Call of Duty, but if you're really bad, so you just kind of have to like talk your way through it. But overall, I think if that was my intro to the, what the Meta Quest 3S offers, the doorway that has now opened up for me, I'm cautiously excited to see where it goes. Look, I'm not going to go hopping into Meta Horizons all the time, but some of the people I did meet were cool. The ones that weren't yelling at me in French. They could have been yelling nice things at me in French for sure. I just don't know if I don't know if that was the case. But oddly enough, the community of guns was very welcoming, and so I'll report back if I go to any kind of memorable worlds. But for now, just general first impressions on the MetaQuest 3S. It's a solid headset, and for the value that you get, it's awesome. I know that it's a downgrade from the MetaQuest 3 kind of in terms of the visuals. But again, if you're like me and you're coming from a low headset, like a PlayStation VR, a beginner headset in terms of like the VR generation, or if you just don't have a VR headset and you're like, hey, this is my intro into this world, this is the headset to get. I think it's totally worth it. I got this is the 128 gig version, and I have a few games on here, not filling up yet. So Call of Duty isn't on here, so we don't have one game that can take up the entire hard drive. So far, I'm liking it, and I'll be playing more, so you'll hear about it more. All you got to do is subscribe. But anyway,
VR report of the week. That's
yes.
We'll get from you.
I don't know if it'll be that intensive because I gotta be honest. I have gotten used to it, but I think it's there's a lot of games, Nick. There's a lot of games we gotta get to playing. Apparently, you can also there's like Steam Link available, so you can link your Steam to it and like play Steam games on there. There's also Xbox. There's a whole bunch of stuff I haven't even explored. So I'm looking for messing around. I don't know if I'll be gaming quite intensively. I'll be messing around.
Got to see if you can get Half-Life Alyx on there.
Oh yeah, I forgot about yes, yeah, that's true. Now, with all that said, we're back in a typical fashion. It's an hour, and we're finally getting to the news. So,
yeah.
Nick, let's talk about the news because I'm a little bit out of date, like I said. But
sure thing. I was going back and looking at headlines this week, Sri, and actually for the last 2 weeks, seeing as we didn't really, record a traditional live episode the week before. So I've grabbed a bunch of things that went into like different categories, I guess. So
sure.
I figure we'll start with film and TV updates because there's been a lot of random game adaptation kind of headline things the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
One of the big ones being that the God of War show from Amazon basically like restarted production. A lot of the key kind of creative team kind of just left the project, and
always a good sign.
Yeah, maybe a bit concerning, but they do have a new director, I believe. I don't have the article up right this second, but it's somebody from Battlestar Galactica, I believe I read. So
that's an interesting choice for a God of War adaptation.
Yeah, just kind of interesting. Like obviously this adaptation was announced I think like a year ago, maybe a little bit earlier, but we're probably going to have to still wait a little while on this one. It's unclear if they're still going to be sticking with like the modern God of War kind of design language. I assume they will be, but you never know if they're going back to the drawing board with it.
See, I feel like a God of War show, you got to have there's a few different directions I can see it going, and I think each would be interesting to see. One being, I think, the most interesting one. So I'll say that for last. But so the first one is a remake of the modern current, God of War games, right? So that storyline, the grounded kind of aspect of it, and this kind of a more of a troubled Kratos in terms of like maturity, or the second version is you go back to the basics, baby. He's fucking pressing square to smash. You know what I mean? He's, I don't know how you didn't integrate that, but like he's poking holes into Poseidon's head. That's the stuff. The third thing that I think will be most interesting is that they throw Kratos into some other religious or mythology that we've not seen on the video games. I think that would be the most interesting one. I don't know if you'd fill out the gaps between the original, the new trilogy, or I don't know where you'd go, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they would do. I feel like they would probably err on the safe side and just do what you said, like a retelling of the games or whatever. But I do think that'd be interesting. I just don't know if, say, Sony has like a big kind of stake in the show and the creation of the show. I don't know if they would want to like break new ground with the TV show
and rely on
have something like that they could explore.
But hey, Fallout did it. Fallout did it, Nick.
Yep. And speaking of Fallout, this is just a kind of a small one, but season 2 is beginning filming in November. So
wow, that's a fast turnaround. I guess
there's been some interviews with Graham Wagner and Geneva Robinson Dorette, I believe is her name. Kind of like the showrunners.
Sure.
They said that they're trying to go as fast as possible with season 2.
We got to do it while Amazon's letting us ride. We got to keep going.
Pretty much, yeah. But both Nolan was at like some talk in like Ireland where he said that they were beginning to film soon, and Leslie Uggams, I think, also did a interview recently and said that they're just we're filming in November. So pretty much confirmed that season 2 is starting, and so we're probably going to be seeing some leaks come out because there was a ton of leaks for season 1.
Of course, it's part of the this is part of the deal at this point.
Yep. Another small Amazon one. This one's really not a whole lot to talk about, but I did see earlier that the first couple episodes of Like a Dragon Yakuza have been released on Prime Video.
I was actually just going to ask you that because, I saw Nick, I opened Prime on my MetaQuest 3S, and the first thing I saw just pop up was Like a Dragon. I had no idea who was streaming
that
already.
Was just today. That was just today posted. Wow.
So you haven't dove in?
Nah, I feel like I owe it to myself to play a game first.
Sure.
Watch the show, but yeah, I haven't been able to dive in yet. This one should be interesting to you, Sri. It was announced earlier today from Amazon and Games Work, or not today. Earlier, in the past couple weeks here, that the secret level episode about Warhammer is actually going to be a sequel to Space Marine 2. So
hell yeah. And
not exactly certain. I haven't played it yet.
Well, I was going to say,
I don't know where the story goes.
I know obviously October, you're kind of, you're waiting for the spooky season to be over. Are you like, do you have an idea of when you're going to play Space Marine 2?
Probably sometime in November.
Okay. I didn't know if it was like right on the backlog or if you're like, it's too late. It's got to wait for another year.
It is on the backlog. It's just at the beginning of November, I'm going to be at my sister's wedding, so I won't be able to play it there. But yeah, probably when I get back from that, I'll be starting Warhammer.
Sweet. All right. Well, yeah, I'm excited to see what you think of it, and I will say that that what you said about how it continues, it's a sequel in a way to the game. I think that really it's gonna be exciting, Nick. Seeing what happens next. I'm left very curious.
Even more broadly speaking, though, because obviously we've had a couple of conversations about secret level, and I hadn't even considered that like some episodes could be like one-off follow-ups to different games. And it's like that's a crazy idea for episodes too. If we just get like some random franchise that's just like, hey, this episode is actually a sequel to this game that
or like how or because I'm not gonna say anything about Space Marine 2, but like, it could be like, tying off a few loose ends, perhaps. I think that would be really interesting and cool to see.
Yeah, and then the last thing that I had for film and TV updates was that Sony came out and said that the Until Dawn movie is releasing in 2025. I think it's just the year, but one has to assume probably around October.
Yeah.
But yeah. That was just a bunch of rapid fire film and TV stuff, and most of it I thought was pretty interesting, so I thought we'd touch on a couple of those.
Well, Nick, before we get to the main topic of the show, which is kind of like more headlines, right, about what we've,
Sure.
Kind of the games that were announced and stuff. We have a very special segment to continue. It's been a few weeks, so this week's inbox is stacked, Nick, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games that I have to showcase. And I have to say, some of these are really interesting. Some of them are, they're all interesting. Okay, I can't pitch them. I can't undersell any of them right before I even show them to you. But some of these are like, absolutely, this is a immediate wish list. So, Nick, I'll let you pick once again 1 through 9. Which one do you want to go for?
4.
Oh, 4. Okay. All right. So we're starting off with perhaps one of the least exciting, I'll say, of the options. That being said, again, it's still a really good lineup here. So this is Forgive Me, Father 2. So, calling all cultists from Fulcrum Publishing and Bite Barrel comes a Lovecraftian first-person shooter sequel to Forgive Me, Father, and it's currently leaving early access. So as of now, the 1.0 release of Forgive Me, Father 2 is here, and it's available on PC via Steam, Epic Game Store, and GOG. And additionally, a digital art book and official soundtrack is also available for purchase, with both items bundled as part of the deluxe edition. But essentially, this is inspired by Lovecraft with a kind of a hand-drawn, cel-shaded art style. And Forgive Me, Father 2 is built on Unreal Engine 5 and offers an action-packed retro meets cutting-edge love letter to all first-person shooter fans. Honestly, the first shot of like that giant Cthulhu monster is awesome. I mean, single-handedly enough to sell me on it. Nick, what is next? 1 through 9. We're just obviously not 4. 4 again.
7.
You said 7?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is a short little teaser. So you guys are going to be I'm going to fly through everything about this game. This is Corporeal. From Cold Out Interactive comes their debut title, a narratively driven paranormal mystery puzzle game that is currently in development for PC and, of course, available to wishlist now on Steam. So in Corporeal, first of all, it's set in New Zealand during the late 1990s, and the game is a haunting photographic puzzle game which sees players piece together a cursed photo album as they unravel the mystery of the unexplained events that left them as the sole surviving member of the family tree, or of their family tree. So, first of all, you have a narrative-driven horror game, and that immediate like for me, and it's about photographs. You got photograph gameplay mechanics in. I mean, it's got to be thrown on here. So, yeah,
that's right up your alley.
No, obviously, you're going to see that a few times in this episode. No release date or anything. It's just kind of this has been announced, so keep an eye on it, and of course, wishlist to support the developers. Nick, what's next?
9.
Oh, snap. This is actually a good one. Okay, that is again. I'm not trying to undersell these things. What I mean by that is that this is an apt one because we're going to be playing it tomorrow on stream. And by we, I mean Austin. Austin's going to be playing it, and I'm going to be watching over his shoulder and laughing at him. But this is the Bridge Curse 2, The Extrication. What a mouthful! But this is a from South Star Entertainment and P Cube. It's a horror game that's been out since like May or March or May, one of the M months, earlier this year, and it's just now, as of today, made its console debut on PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series XS, and the way that I think all horror games are meant to be played, on the Nintendo Switch. Here's the thing. The pitch for this game I think is really interesting because you play as someone who's going into... I'll just pitch it as it is. I'm not going to try to summarize it to make it easier for you. So, intent on resurrecting a decades-old campus ghost story, a daring group of film students orchestrates the carnival of horror within the infamously haunted Da Ren building. As they begin to film, the line between fiction and... Oh, there we go. Fiction and reality blurs, and inexplicable events begin to unfold. Navigate Wen Hui's authentically realized winding corridors with echoing footsteps as you try to outwit and evade the formidable ghosts pursuing you, from the sinister Mad Ballerina to the bizarre Sergeant Huang. There you go. I pitched that a little bit.
Right up our alley.
I know. I was going to say, again, tune in, twitch.tv/ChumbuckHQ tomorrow night. Turn off your lights, put on your headphones, and get ready to hopefully get some spooks, because it actually does look pretty intense, just kind of from my brief experience. So it's going to be a good one to keep an eye out on. All right, Nick, what's next?
2.
Ooh, that's Nick. Would you believe that number 2 actually has 2 in the name?
Ooh.
Well, you should, because it does have 2 in the name. 2 is Two Falls. This is a first-person single-player narrative-driven exploration game that presents contrasting perspectives on French and indigenous first encounters. Explore the 17th century Canadian wilderness in this 3D linear game and experience the intertwining journeys of Jeanne, a French king's daughter, stranded far from the French colonies, and Macon, a young Innu hunter, trying to uncover what is disturbing his native forest, land of his ancestors. Their main inspirations for this game were Firewatch and What Remains of Edith Finch. Also,
definitely got the Firewatch vibes from the trailer here.
and it's a story actually written by indigenous peoples. So, honestly,
nice.
It's an interesting kind of perspective. I like the art style. Again, they really got that Firewatch part of it down. And I think that the putting the story in the context that it is, right, of between a French person and a Native American, and kind of seeing their the juxtaposition of their adventures, I think that's what really kind of drew me to this game. So a demo for this is currently available, and additionally, they're preparing for the Steam. Well, I guess Steam Next Fest is already over, so I guess that's irrelevant. But so the game itself, if you want to play it, is out on November 8th on PC. So you can wishlist it now on Steam, or you can also check it out on Epic Games Store and show some support. But it's only a few weeks away. I mean, like I said, this is one of the older stories that we had lined up. So the demo is, the Steam Next Fest stuff is already irrelevant because we're past it. But the game's right around the corner. Nick, what's next? Can you remember what you said and what you have not?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. What's your choice?
I said 5.
Oh, sorry, you didn't come through. It didn't come through.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. This is okay. This is an interesting one because I think. Look, first of all, this is the second Lovecraftian game that's on the list. Not by choice. I wasn't trying to shout out my man Lovecraft. Not that he needs it, of course, but this one caught my eye for a different reason, even though it is also, again, Lovecraftian. Nick, let me introduce you to Rail Gods of Hystera, a cooperative base-building survival action game set in a nightmarish Lovecraftian dreamscape. This is from developer Troglodytes Games and first-time publisher Digital Vortex Entertainment. So essentially, in Rail Gods of Hystera, you challenge the Great Old Ones aboard an arcane living locomotive and survive the harsh procedurally generated world of Hystera, gear up with firearms, axes, spells, and more to battle ancient beasts and cruel cultists, and of course, build out your train while you're at it, because you can harvest resources to craft new tools and add more cars or carts. Cars, right? I think it's cars for trains. More train cars. So journey through the horrors alone or with up to 4 friends via online co-op. This is available on PC and the PlayStation 5. So obviously one to check out. If it, the train, see, the aspect of it is really what captured my interest. Because, again, we've seen Lovecraftian stuff before, but you add this, like, again, the animation for the train itself is also cool, but you add like the additional kind of like, hey, it's a moving thing that you could essentially, Nick, you might not like it because I know you said you hated transit in Black Ops 2. So, but for everyone else, check out Real Gods of Hystera. All right, Nick, we're almost done. I say that this is quite a hefty episode. So, what's next?
Yeah. Let's do. I didn't say 6, right?
You did not. You did not say 6. But that's quite sick of you to say 6. Nick, would you believe that number 6 has the word "sick" in the title?
I thought you were gonna say, "Would you believe it has 6 in the title?" And I was like, "Whoa, what game could that be?" Yeah, sick.
Well, oh shit! Oh my god! Did I just? Hold on. Let me just. There's a stream down. Let me make sure.
I'm still seeing it.
Okay. As long as you're still seeing it, I'm good. I thought I pressed a button that might have fucked me over, but we're good. All right, number 6 is Sick Samurai, not 6 Samurai. So this is from Solidio. It's a blindingly fast, bloody action game based on an instant death combat with gameplay that's in the vein, and you can kind of tell from just kind of looking at it, but it's kind of in the vein of Hotline Miami, and it has this, obviously, samurai aesthetic to it as well. The
looks super fast.
Super
insane.
Super fast. So immerse yourself in lo-fi hip-hop and retro anime aesthetics as you slash and dash your way to becoming the greatest fighter on the island. So it's a violent game, and it's out October 2025. So you got 1 year to wait for it. But hey, it's I believe it's the debut game from them. So if you want to show Sick Samurai and Solidio, I apologize. That name was confusing me. You can wishlist it now. It's got voice acted dialogue, a jazzy soundtrack, and hand drawn retro anime art style. There you go.
Right on.
Nick, you
Probably
have
gonna throw that one on my wish list. That one looks pretty.
You
sick.
have 3 left. Holy crap! There's still 3 left. I'll just let you pick 1, 2, 3.
1.
Okay, finally. It took you long enough to get to this one. It's right up your alley. Nick, are you ready
Oh boy, what's this gonna be?
to date everything? From Team 17 Digital and Sassy Chap Games comes a sandbox dating simulator called Date Everything, which will launch on PC and consoles on Valentine's Day. That's right, February 14th, 2025. So
Perfect.
Date Everything lets players explore a world where even the most ordinary objects hold romantic potential. Equipped with the Dateviator glasses, players chat with everything from the laundry basket to the air itself, discovering unique personalities and outcomes. I know that's going on an immediate wish list for Nick. But yeah, date everything. I mean, it's in the title. You're dating. There's a potential to date everything. I prefer this over other sandbox games like Goat Simulator 2.
Mm.
There is no Goat Simulator 2, right? That isn't accurate.
Correct. Yes,
Okay,
there is
okay.
no 2.
Okay.
Just 3 and 1,
Just
and a
making sure.
remaster apparently.
All right, Nick, 2 or 3?
2.
Oh snap! He's just going down the list at this point. This one is another fresh off the press, I think as they say. Welcome to Puppet House. This is a VHS era inspired puzzle adventure horror game that launches on PC, Xbox. It launches on PC today, and it's also going to be launching on Xbox Series XS and PlayStation 5 at some point today as well. We're streaming towards the end of the day, so probably by the time you're listening to this, and definitely if you're watching this on Respawn Station TV, it's already out. So check it out. It's Puppet House, and in this game, you step into the eerie world of Puppet House, where terror is carved from wood. As Detective Rick, you must uncover the truth behind a series of disappearances, all leading to the home of a long-deceased ventriloquist. Will you, Nick, have the courage to solve the case, even with a deadly puppet stalking you at your every move? I guess you're going to have to find out in Puppet House. Also, PC via
Puppet
Steam,
House.
GOG, and Epic Game Store. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we get to the last game for this episode of the Inbox. This was one that I if I'm being honest, I wasn't sure if I was going to include or not. It's one of those games where the first impression of like the way the art looked was kind of sets up an expectation in your head, right? And then you actually look at the game in action and you're like, this isn't what I expected. But it still looks cool, so I'm going to shout it out anyway. This is Zero Sievert from Cabo Studio, or CABO Studio, and UK indie publisher Modern Wolf. Comes a pixel art extraction shooter called Zero Sievert. The game officially launches into 1.0 today after spending nearly 2 years in early access, and essentially it takes place in this post-apocalyptic world of Zakov, where, like I said, it's an extraction shooter. So it's, you go into this ravaged ravaged wasteland, you fight monsters, and you get loot, and then you have to extract. And of course, you can trade items, mod weapons, and ready yourself for battle for each kind of mission that you go to. I would describe this as sort of like Escape from Tarkov. Obviously a very famous kind of extraction shooter, but I would say it's an indie Escape from Tarkov, but you don't have to deal with the assholes. You know what I mean? You don't have to deal with the sweats. You just got it's solo, so you can go in by yourself, get a similar kind of intense experience, and step out having enjoy the experience, hopefully. So that is your list of 9 total games for this episode of Inbox. Hopefully you enjoyed. Of course, if you're an indie developer who wants us to talk about your game on the show, of course, feel free to shoot us an email. You can head over to respawnstation.com to do that. And who knows, maybe your game will be featured right here. Right here. Oh, Nick, that was a lot of talking, but now we can get to the main topic of the show.
Yeah.
So go ahead. I'll let you take the lead on this one.
Xbox last week, I believe it was last week, had a partner preview, partner showcase. What is their official language on this? partner preview. It's kind of like an Xbox Direct, but kind of also not, because they have the developer directs, which are mostly like first party stuff. This partner preview, I think, is mostly like indies and third parties that they usually showcase. This is like the second or third, I think, of these that they've done. And as the title of our podcast would suggest, I thought it was pretty good. I'm not sure about you, Sri. But
that's the thing. I think we were. Here's the thing. I didn't really know that this was happening until like 5 minutes before it happened. I started it was happening, and I was like, "Oh, let me just hop on. I'll throw it on the screen." And yeah, I was honestly pretty surprised at how much I enjoyed it. And I think maybe part of that is that I had no expectations, right? Like I didn't know, I wasn't expecting anything to be announced or anything big to be there. So anything that was surprising, which we're going to talk about in just a second, but anything that was surprising, I was like, oh, that was pretty cool. So, yeah, I mean, we can go back and forth on this, Nick, talking about, what we liked, but I think honestly, we both have pretty similar kind of highlights here. So we can kind of walk through kind of all of them together if you want.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, the first one, right off the bat, the game that opened the show, Nick has already reviewed it. It's Alan Wake 2, the Lake House expansion. So,
yeah,
went right past that. Also, I will say this did have a direct style presentation, like where, like, in between games, it'd pause and be like, you just saw Alan Wake 2, like, and then it has little graphics, and then it continues on to the next section.
Yeah, everyone's got their direct copy now, but yeah, it is snappy. They don't really spend a whole lot of time on the in-between stuff, which is nice. It's, if there's like some sort of Xbox Wire article to go with one of these things, they'll usually shout that out. But usually it's, we're going to move on between these the different announcements, which I do appreciate.
Now, once again, Nick is absolutely on top of things, ladies and gentlemen, because not only has he already played and reviewed Alan Wake Lake House, the next game that I think we both find interesting is from Bloober Team, who are coming hot off of the heels of Silent Hill 2 Remake, and have announced Chronos: The New Dawn. This new horror game?
Yeah, it's a new third-person survival horror game. This one having more of a, sci-fi kind of air to it. I believe it's... Let me see if they have it here on their trailer. So I want to make sure that I say this right. If it's... Okay, so yeah, in their trailer from the Xbox channel, the description, it says, delve deep into the heart of a deadly struggle against overwhelming foes with combat-driven gameplay, all while uncovering the mysteries of a twisted time travel story. So, sounds like it's going to be like a time travel sci-fi horror kind of game. There's not a whole lot of gameplay in this trailer. It kind of cuts between like CG of this guy in like a suit. It kind of reminds me of the... Prey 2016 suit in a way.
I was going to say, what vibes did you get from this?
I honestly don't know. It's like I got one part like kind of Callisto Protocol-y, but like also like Returnal-y, like in terms of the vibe. And then at the very end, they do show a little bit of gameplay, and it's like third person over the shoulder, kind of like Silent Hill 2 Remake. So, I think the visuals look really cool. I'm intrigued by the cutscenes here. Yeah. And then obviously, if it's anything like how Silent Hill 2 handles, like I think it'll be a really kind of like a fun sci-fi horror game that we can add to the list of other popular ones we have, like Dead Space and Callisto, I guess.
Yeah, I think I agree. And I'm not trying to pigeonhole this into a specific kind of niche or anything like that, but I think that it's always interesting to see kind of what a game kind of the vibes of certain games. I do think this has an interesting vibe of its own, but the things that kind of went through my head, the two things that I think I predominantly kept thinking of when I was watching it was Dead Space, and I think that's part of that is like kind of the weapon that he's using kind of gave me that vibe, as well as like his kind of suit. And for some reason, BioShock. I got a lot of like, I don't know. I was just like, kind of like there's something there, almost like there's like something under the surface, which is kind of what I always get from BioShock. No pun intended there. And then also the suit. I don't know. He gave Big Daddy vibes. Also, he reminded me of Big Daddy from BioShock.
I mean, I like time travel stuff too, so I think if they can, I like what we're seeing here.
Can I make a prediction?
Sure.
I think it's going to use it's not much of a prediction, but I think it's going to be using the same tech that they used in the Medium, because in the Medium you essentially you transport between these two worlds. And I think that it's going to be that same kind of technology of like instantaneous, like you press the button and you're kind of switching, but it's, time travel instead of, because the Medium's also horror, but it's just, instead of like psychological horror, it's like, a sci-fi horror, and, so you're switching to different worlds and stuff.
Yeah, I hadn't considered that, but now that you say that, like I could totally see that. Like we basically have like the third person gameplay of Silent Hill 2 remake, but with the technology of the Medium. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. All right, now.
Yeah, it definitely looks pretty moody.
Yep. What else? I mean, what do you want to go to next with this partner showcase?
Oh, let's just keep going in order. I have a list up in order from Polygon here.
What did you think of
the next thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say the next thing was Blind Fire.
That's exactly. I was gonna say, what do you think of Blind Fire, man? That was a weird trailer, huh? I didn't.
Yeah, I don't really know.
I thought it was a VR game at first, to be honest. The way that the gameplay was moving, I was like, is this a VR game? But no, it's essentially a first-person shooter, but like you don't see the enemy until they start shooting, or there's no light. Like I think
so it's all about like lack of light and everything. That's kind of the design ethos here. The trailer is very weird, and I'm not sure exactly all the stuff that they are, talking about is necessarily like represented in the trailer. But it is available in early access, I believe, so you can play it.
They say it's a unique shooter that removes light from the equation. That's their pitch. That's their line.
Yeah, and there's like all this sort of stuff where it's like because I was listening to some other people talk about this, where there's like other like weapons on the map, and you can kind of do these things where it's like if you die, you kind of sort of are able to activate like traps and stuff in the level. So it sounds like they're doing some pretty interesting things around this game. It sounds like it is going to be like, PvP multiplayer and everything, but yeah, it is definitely a weird trailer. Like it caught my interest, but it's like I would want to see like actual gameplay before.
Yeah, it didn't quite sell me on it. I think there's another Frag Out, I think it was called. That one I think was more or no, Frag Punk. Yeah. I think that was pitched itself as a more interesting first person shooter for me recently than this did. I don't know, something about the way that this kind of that trailer was just like, didn't feel confident in what it was showing, at least for me. So, but we'll see. Next up is a game that I know you said you were excited about. It's Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Yeah, this is a good trailer.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I've watched a couple of these, pirate Yakuza trailers, but this one kind of feels like this is the all-encompassing one, where it's like, oh, you see like boat combat. Oh, we get a little bit of fighting pirates on the ships. Oh, you get to see exciting locations like this Madlantis like pirate colony and stuff. So it's a very dynamic trailer. It goes all over the place. It really kind of highlights a lot of the stylistic hallmarks of the modern Like a Dragon series. And yeah, like, just looking at the trailer you have on screen here, like just seeing Majima walk around in Madlantis, it's just like, I want to go walk around there. It's a cool looking place. So I think the game looks really awesome. I like kind of want to play it like, I
as your
watched this and
first.
I'm like, I want to play it, but it's like I don't know if I can. Again, like the TV show, I don't know if I can permit myself to hop in on Pirate Yakuza when I haven't played any of the other ones yet.
Yeah, no,
I'm sure that they're fine with it and that like it doesn't matter, but just
yeah.
like for me personally.
I will say, first of all, I'm happy that after all these years, we finally got a sequel to Assassin's Creed Black Flag. So
That's what I was thinking watching
you
the
know,
ship combat. I was like, man, it looks better than like Skull and Bones. Like ship
how
combat.
fucking dare you? Okay, you don't compare quadruple A to this. That being said, though, I will say, Nick, you've talked about before you wanted to get into Yakuza or Like a Dragon, whatever
Mhm.
title you want to say. I for whatever reason, I'm one of those people who I like to install a few random backlog games on my console at any time, so that when I'm done one, if I want to just be like, oh, let's see what I want to hop into, it's available.
Mhm.
I almost, Nick, started playing Judgment, and I believe that's in the same, at least from the same developer, right? But I don't know if it's necessarily I don't know how this works. This universe is kind of confusing to me, but
I believe it is the same universe, yeah.
okay, yeah. And so I almost booted up. It's still installed on my PS5, which of course I don't have my PS5 with me, but I almost did. So there's a chance I might play a Yakuza game soon. But again, coming back from this little hiatus, I don't know how soon. All right, next,
Yeah.
we have another game that I think you again. A solid list here. This is Mouse PI, which is kind of
Mouse PI for Hire is the full title.
Mouse PI for Hire. This one went viral a few months ago, maybe a year ago, because it's. I mean, look, if you don't remember the name, if Mouse PI for Hire does not ring a bell, then it's the first-person shooter that has Cuphead aesthetics and it's black and white, and you've probably understood what it is. Here's the thing.
This is a highlight for me. This game looks so rad.
This game does look awesome. Like I'm a sucker for detective stuff. I'm a sucker for noir projects. Weirdly enough, as someone who, I say that as I really do like noir movies and stories and stuff. But for some reason, the entire time I watched this trailer, I was just waiting for it to get into color for some reason. I was just like, oh, at any second now, they'll they'll filter out and it'll be color. At one point they zoom out of a TV, so I was like, oh, that's the time they're gonna do the color. No, it wasn't that time. That's not saying I don't like the aesthetic as is or anything. It's just that's I don't know, something about it does feel a little bit desaturated in a weird way. It is obviously desaturated. I mean, the contrast, I'll say, is off. It feels a little bit off in terms of the blacks aren't quite as dark black as to give you that kind of full range of grays. But no, it's still the gameplay and everything looks really awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I definitely want to play it. Obviously, it's up my alley from the style and the presentation. I think this game is definitely going to have to nail the combat and the mechanics, because there's a lot of games like this that come out that have an interesting visual style but feel kind of jank to play. So it's one of those things where it's hard to tell from a trailer. It's hard to tell when they're cutting on stuff exactly how you get a feel until you have the controller in your hands and you're able to play it. But I think from everything that they've shown, I'm on board. I can't wait to play it. Just a weird thing, I really like the animation when he's using the machine gun, how it sprays and moves on the screen. It's I don't feel like you see that in many first person shooters, even if it is just what happens while you're shooting the gun and not something that you interact with. But
yeah.
I was just it's just a little tiny touch like that I really like. And obviously the animations in general are really cool. So it'd be interesting if they have a color filter as an unlockable. I know in Cuphead you could unlock black and white mode and tricolor mode. So it's maybe, but I feel that might be a lot of work if they're showing everything in black and white. to just
yeah.
unlock a full color range.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like they designed it in color and then they added a palette, or if it's just like from the get go, it was just like this. This character is this shade of gray, and etc. Next game up, the partner showcase, or sorry, partner preview, was Subnautica 2, because there's always
this was a surprise. I wasn't expecting
fish.
this.
I wasn't either. I did call it right off the bat. I was like, this kind of looks like Subnautica, and sure enough, it was Subnautica 2. This time with co-op, because previously Subnautica was the only way to play co-op was like you had to get mods on PC and stuff, but now it's baked into the game. I also thought Subnautica 2 was that last game that they came out with, it was like Subnautica Below Zero or something. But I guess not. This is like a proper sequel. That was just kind of like a, hold yourself over until the main course is arriving. So here it is, the main course. It's not, I don't think it's coming anytime soon, right? Or like maybe next year if we'll wait for the end of the trailer, I suppose. But
the article that I have up says early access 2025.
Oh, yeah,
so
there it is. Coming to Xbox.
Definitely.
But it's coming to Game Pass and Xbox Series XS, obviously. So cool. Game Pass.
Yeah, Subnautica is a really good-looking game, even though it's obviously from like kind of a smaller team, from what I'm aware. Like, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the first game on like Unity or something?
Oh snap! Yeah, I don't know, but hey, correct him if he's wrong.
I'm gonna look that up real quick. Subnautica engine. Yeah, it is developed on Unity. So
wow,
I think it's a really good looking game. A sequel, even from the trailer, even though it's like a CG trailer, like I'm just imagining. They say it's a whole new like planet and everything. So I bet they can get really creative with a lot of new underwater environments and stuff, which was one of my favorite parts of the first game.
Hell yeah. Next game up on the partner preview was Animal Well. It's finally coming to Xbox, and so it's getting its console release. It kind of went huge on PC when it came out. Of course, that's the first game from Big Mode from Dunkey. So there you go.
This trailer is narrated by Dunkey, so if you're a
Yes.
Dunkey fan, watch this and you'll get some Dunkey content with the side of game trailer.
Nick, what'd you think of Eden's Zero? Not Eden Zero. Eden's Zero.
It's a anime game.
Well, that's it. And we move on. It is true.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, I mean, some games like this, like I look at the combat and I'm like, oh, that looks kind of fun. But then, like, obviously, it's like based on like a manga, and like I have no idea who these characters are or what the premise is or anything. So like the trailer doesn't really do a whole lot for me. But it's like, I think it looks fun. Is it something that I personally would probably pick up and play? Probably not. But if you're into these type of games, I think that it doesn't look bad what they're showing.
I will say that the next game is one that am curious about to play, because I believe it is from. I'm trying to think. I think it's from someone who's formerly worked on Dragon Age. But anyway, so this is the next game up is Eternal Strands, and yeah, I believe it's someone who is developed by an BioWare developer. But essentially, it's a game that has it's a third-person action adventure game, but it has elemental powers. So like you can burn things in the map. You can freeze different parts of like a boss's like body. It showed off like a part where like you freeze the wings off a dragon and it starts falling down. And so yeah, it's kind of like opens up to dynamic elemental damage and stuff. You can climb enemies like it's Shadow of the Colossus, and also I like the visuals a lot. Like the general visual palette. We also had one like this 2 weeks ago when we talked about Legacy, which was kind of a World of Warcraft type of game. Yeah, the aesthetics of overall I thought was really cool and surprised me. I didn't really know too much about the game, and this is my first time really kind of getting kind of FaceTime with it. And so yeah, good.
I think the gameplay is definitely interesting. It kind of like a hybrid Monster Hunter / Shadow of the Colossus-y kind of thing.
Yep.
I do have to, unfortunately, Sri, I have to duck. I don't think
the
Eternal
title.
Strands is a great name.
Yeah,
No.
no, I agree.
I think the game looks fun, but yeah, Eternal Strands is one of those ones where it's like I forget it every time I say it. So it's
No, yes, I also right before I said it, I had to go and like look up, like I go to the end of the trailer and be like, okay, it is called Eternal Strands, because yeah, I would have also said something.
But like you said, the elemental like powers and stuff and kind of the gameplay they show of like, affecting different parts of these creatures, I think that is pretty interesting. And it looks a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more interesting to me than something like Monster Hunter. I know obviously Monster Hunter is like huge and everything, but this to me looks like, I don't know, maybe it's a bit more like compartmentalized, so like I can kind of see what's going on in the actual combat versus like, just swinging a giant sword at a monster until it falls over kind of thing. I'm sure Monster Hunter is more in depth than that, but
Oh,
just looking at both of these,
to
I think it looks a little bit more
I did look it up, and I
interesting.
can confirm. So the game. So first of all, this team includes Mike Laidlaw, who's the former creative director of the Dragon Age franchise, and he's also been a creative director at Ubisoft since then. And he's joined at Yellow Brick Games by Thomas Groh, Jeff Skalski, and Frederic Saint Laurent B, who collectively have experiences in Ubisoft, BioWare, EA, and Activision Blizzard. So it's quite a veteran team that they've gotten over there.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
go
definitely
ahead.
want to see more from that one.
What else you got? Is the next game up? I guess we're going in order. Oh, this one
Yeah,
actually.
Mistfall Hunter.
Okay, so good game, looks cool. I will speak for Nick. I am not a fan of this title.
Yeah, not a real fan. This was like, to me, like, again, I don't mean to be like rude to the developers or anything, but this trailer kind of rang as not Elden Ring or Elden Ring at home. Like, it gets just
Wow.
kind of had like, the Norse kind of gold strands. It's kind of Souls-like-y. It's kind of, twisted beasts foul and stuff. So yeah, just kind of watching it, like, I don't think it looks bad, but it definitely kind of, I think it's wearing its influences on its sleeve.
Yeah, and well, to say, I actually think it looks visually pretty good in terms of like the fidelity is there. In terms of like it looks quality at least. The animations at the very least are look pretty top notch. But yeah, the title really isn't the best for me. That's really what sticks out. But I think the gameplay actually looked pretty interesting. Just kind of like, yeah, it doesn't. It definitely has, especially in certain kind of shots, the even the color palette, right? Of, I mean, you mentioned the golden strands and stuff, but I mean, like, there's certain shots that feel like right there, the color palette feels like an Elden Ring color palette.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, definitely wears, hopefully, wearing its influence on its sleeve. But that being said, still looks interesting. I'm hoping for the best, obviously, but we'll see. I thought, a good, like, here's the thing: if we're going through this entire showcase and we're saying like, oh, this one was really good, this one was not so great, this one a mid tier. I was excited, but it's not like one of the reasons why I'm like, oh yeah, this is the game of the show or anything.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we had Ghost. Oh, hold on, I forget what the name of this is. Ghost Bike?
The new name is Wheel World, but yeah, I think it was formerly known as Ghost Bike.
Okay. So yes, Ghost Bike, or Wheel World now, as it was called. This looked awesome, I thought. Just kind of, as look, we need more biking games. I've said this. I'm a big fan of Riders Republic, so it's more bikes in games. I know Nick prefers skateboards, but yeah,
the definitive video game transportation medium.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, I mean, this looked cool. Again, you just kind of explore the world, you customize your bike, and and race against other people and take part in kind of racing challenges. It looks awesome. The vibe is there. I think the last, I will say, I was like, oh man, we need more bikes in video games. But like the last bikes in video games I remember is a season story of something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I didn't even play that game. I heard, I was like, oh, it's a bike game, and then didn't
Let
find
me
it.
see here. I'm curious what the game you're thinking of is Season: A Letter to the Future.
Letter to the Future. Okay.
I'm curious what the like ghost aspect is to the game. Like we see like little teases of like a little like ruins or something that you know kind of light up. So I'm wondering if it's like an exploration based thing or if the ghost stuff gives you certain abilities during racing or whatnot. But yeah, I think the visual style is really cool on this one. It definitely has a unique look. So yeah, I think that's definitely one to keep an eye on.
Next one is a quick one, but this is Phasmophobia is getting its console release coming to Xbox Series X and S later this month, and we're right in time for Halloween on October 29th, I believe, is the release date. I've heard a lot about this one. No, I haven't. I've been waiting for a console release because it's one of those games that, October 29th, 2024. It's one of those games that a lot of people have obviously recommended that like we check out because it's kind of made for the kind of content that we make. But it's PC game, and not everyone on the team's a PC gamer, Nick. So it doesn't work out. But hopefully this console version.
I've not played it myself. I've heard a lot of people say it's scary though, so I'm sure
I did play Content Warning, and I will say Content Warning is great. If you've picked it up for free on the when it came out, and I don't know how much it is now, but very much so recommend Content Warning if you're like want something like Phasmophobia, but not quite sure. All right, Nick, I gotta be honest with you. This next one, we could didn't nothing about this was exciting to me. This is I think it's called Legends of Babu or something.
The Legend of Babu.
The Legend of Babu. Yeah. Did not like this one. Not saying it's bad, but I just don't think this
noticeably more budget than a lot of the other
it's
stuff.
It's definitely more budget. Felt more in the vein of Gollum. A game, by the way, thanks to Austin, I now own a copy of. But
I'd say I think it has a little bit more heart than Gollum has.
Sure,
but
sure.
Visually, I could see some comparison.
But I just think that I don't know if that game should have been at this partner preview, because I think look, two things. I think this game needed to be polished a little bit more. First of all, just to kind of get that the to hone in on the visuals and stuff. But as a counter to that, as a second point to that, not a counter to that, as a second point to that, this showcase started with Alan Wake. Even Mistfall Hunter looked like, there was a certain look to it. This feels out of place. Like, this at maybe at a Nintendo Direct, I'd be like, okay, I could see it. I understand. Some of the games might be a little bit more in the range. You can't have Alan Wake 2 and this and not have people like notice the disparity. Again, I understand it's not the same teams. Like these are, I'm sure Midwest Games is a smaller team and stuff. I totally get that, but I just don't think this was the venue to do this in. But anyway,
yeah, it definitely stands out. It not really my cup of tea either, but
so we'll move past it to a game that Nick, I think, looks again similar to what we said about Mistfall. Looks really awesome. It's his Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers, another Souls-like game. I know we're running short on the Souls-likes, so we gotta have a few more.
Untapped genre.
Yes, yeah, really underutilized. Looks cool. What do you think of the name, Nick? Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. Also, first time I saw that, I thought the game's name was Nothing Is Forever. I was like, well, that's an interesting name. And I was like,
fake you out.
That was a subtitle.
It's an all right name. I think it doesn't use too many like
buzzwords
or like generic buzzwords. So I give it some some pass for that. I think this game we can most directly tie a link to Mouse PI for Hire, in that like these games oftentimes look very impressive, but it comes down to that game feel. So like this game has to be rock solid in all of this. Like it looks fun, it looks flashy and cool, but if one thing is off on here, people will usually pick that apart. And a lot of people try to emulate this style, and a lot of them, I'd say, don't hit the mark when it comes to that game feel.
Yeah, I agree. I think that,
and not even, sorry to cut you off, Sri, but like not even saying that like it's a Souls-like or whatever, but like I even feel like this subgenre of Souls-like has been getting a lot of stuff, from like Neo to Rise of the Ronin, even I would kind of throw in here, to what was the other one that
Black
Cody
Myth
did?
Wukong.
I mean, yeah, Wukong, but
who are you talking
what
about?
is the other one that I'm thinking of? It was the Team Ninja one.
Oh, Neo? No, not Neo.
Not Neo. That was also them though.
Sekiro. No, that's
Wolong Fallen Dynasty.
Came out earlier this year, right? January? Is that a January release?
I think so, actually. Well, it says whatever I'm clicking on says March, but I can't see the rest.
Oh, well, earlier this year. Either way, it's crazy. The fact that we've that game came out this year and I've completely forgotten about it. But
yeah, so like even like this kind of subgenre of like Asian mythology influence kind of Souls-like is rapidly becoming like a populated subgenre.
They all came out at once. It's all like, the whatever the market said 5 years ago. This is all. This is what it's led to.
Phantom Blade Zero. There's another one that I just thought of that I think kind of fits this mold too. So, yeah, I mean, I think it looks cool, but it's all going to come down to how it feels, really.
Yeah, we're going to keep an eye out on that one, so stay tuned, and maybe we'll check it out. Next one is probably the biggest surprise for Nick, someone who didn't even know the preview was happening. Or did you know that was happening? Because I feel like I announced it to you. I knew
it was happening.
I announced this to you. Were you expecting this surprise?
No. Because I was under the assumption that this game was canceled, but
I also thought this game was canceled, and I was very surprised that they just there it is. This is FBC Firebreak from Remedy Entertainment.
Yeah, we start with Alan Wake and end with a new game from Remedy. This is a 3-player co-op game set in the Control kind of universe, I guess. I mean, you're playing in the oldest house, which is the main location from Control, and we see like some familiar environments.
Have you played Control?
Yes.
Oh, okay. It's interesting going through what like that, like some of those areas, because if you played Control, these look familiar, and having it be with first person. I don't know if that's just for me, but it feels weird.
Remedy, obviously, they have a history of good shooting mechanics, so I wasn't really. Whenever I saw the first person, I was like, yeah, it did take me back for a second, because I was like, I don't really. They haven't really done first person outside of Crossfire. They did the story. Campaign
Crossfire X.
Yeah. But then, like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, that makes sense, though. Like, I mean, even though they haven't done a whole lot of FPS, I feel like if they have their same kind of shooting mechanics, like, I think it might feel pretty cool. I think, obviously, the oldest house and Control, like, it's a very kind of unique setting, and visually, it's just, like, a unique area, so it kind of breaks from this like other kind of like 3-player or like co-op kind of shooter stuff, like what was the one that you guys were playing, Dark Tide, and like,
Yes,
you
yeah.
know, other kind of like co-op FPS kind of games of that sort. So like just kind of the
Nick,
tone and the
do you
vibe I
think this
feel
is?
is
Are you trying to say that this is going to be better than Rainbow Six Extraction?
oh yeah. Even if it isn't better, I'm gonna like it more than Rainbow Six Extraction. And I didn't hate that game when we
No,
played it,
no.
honestly. I don't think it's, it's gonna be kind of funny to say this about like a, this generation game, but I don't think it ages very well. Like I don't think in the
Yeah,
public reception, Rainbow Six Extraction has really held on very long.
yeah,
But
yeah.
FBC Firebreak, I mean, just from this trailer, like it's definitely a weird game. Like it doesn't seem like it super fits with like Remedy's other stuff, but at the same time, if this is just like, hey, this is a fun thing that you can play with your friends and kind of, experience a different layer of control or whatever, like I think that's going to be awesome. This was definitely a surprise for me, and I'm definitely kind of looking forward to seeing more
Yeah.
from this game.
Well, I mean, with that, we come to the end of the entire
Well,
partner preview, right?
real quick, Sri, I gotta ask you because you famously aren't so hot on Control. So what do you think of seeing this?
Oh
Does
man,
this excite you more? Does it excite you less? Does it
it does excite
make
me because
you?
I think so the thing I didn't like about Control, um, was the was that like the narrative around, or not. I don't even necessarily think it's the narrative. I think look, if I'm being honest, I think Control is paced like shit. Okay, so there's like parts of the game that are a total slog for me to get through, and
Mhm.
I, having no other kind of previous, Control was my first Remedy game, and so working my way through it, I was just like felt really tough. But the thing that consistently, the thing that made me push through it is the visual design and the aesthetics of the game, like the old house and everything. Just like it's
Mhm.
such a strong aesthetic. So the option to play through all those stuff with friends and get to fuck around a little bit more and not just have to like pay attention to this narrative that I'm that keeps flashing at me as if they're trying to ask me what the numbers mean. Then yeah,
Sure.
I'm looking forward to at least getting a new experience out of that same kind of maps.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it'll definitely be more approachable for people
Yeah.
than hopping into the deep end with Control lore.
Yeah, dude. Control is a crazy fucking game. I mean, I played it, like I started once and I played for like an hour and I was like, okay, maybe I'll play this on stream. And I started, and then I was like, I started over on stream, and then it was just like, yeah, it was a lot. And it's it's so interesting. I was actually just talking about this with Austin, because he kind of, he was watching over my shoulder proverbially when I played it, and he also wasn't a huge
Mm.
fan. And so I was kind of saying like I wish, or I kind of want to play Control again. And I think I probably even said it on the podcast. I kind of want to play Control again because everyone fucking loves this game and I just did not. But at the same
Mhm.
time, I don't want to fucking force myself to go through it and be like, nope, I still don't like it, and then I just wasted
Sure.
time. So yeah, it's up in the air. But honestly, I'm looking forward to FBC Firebreak though. Is that? I mean,
Right on.
well, that's it. We've hit all the topics. That's the show. Do you
Yeah.
have a like this try? Do you have something for the people?
Well, there was one kind of thing in the newscast that we didn't touch on, but I'll fold it into my like this, try that. So, uh, the man himself, Masahiro Sakurai, uh, he's been uploading videos on a channel called Masahiro Sakurai on Creating Games for the last 2 years, and he uploaded his last kind of finale video this week. Much to the surprise of many people, there was a revelation in there that he recorded all 260 videos 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And they've just been posting all this stuff. And because he said he was able to create this channel and film all these videos within like a 4 or 5 month span, because his next game was being greenlit and the team would become available to start development in like April of 2022. So that's just crazy to me, that
Sure.
A, he's been developing a game all this time, and B, all the stuff that we've just been seeing the last 2 years was recorded that long ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, because of that, I will say, if you like Sakurai's games, like Smash Brothers, Kirby, and all that, I would say there's one game that he made that he's talked about on his channel called Meteos. I'd say maybe give that a try. I personally have not played Meteos yet, but it's one that's on my radar, and it's basically Sakurai's take on like a Tetris game, like a falling block puzzle game. And I've seen some gameplay of it, and it seems like, you might think, how do you innovate on something like Tetris, or like how do you even iterate on it? And it seems like Meteos has some pretty interesting ideas. So even though I can't personally put the stamp on it, I'd say if you're looking to dive into the Sakurai lore, maybe give Meteos a shot next time you're looking for something to play.
Nick, I'm gonna do something selfish here. So I'm gonna say, if you like, let's say, like 80s, 90s creature features, then my novella Nightmare from the Deep is not only going to be up your alley, but next week, leading up into Halloween, the ebook will be free, so you can pick it up on Amazon and keep it so you don't have to read it right away. Whenever you got it, or whenever you need it, you can. Oh snap! Oh snap! We're getting it live. There it is. There it is. Nightmare from the Deep. You know what's crazy? That's actually,
we collect physical in this house.
Yeah, that's actually, no, Nick. No, you're right. Not only is that physical, that's the old cover of the book. So that's not, if you order the physical book now, that's not the cover that comes with it. So that's a limited. It's a limited edition. That's a first print. Then every other print since then, after after that first 3 months, is a new cover. So there you go. Nick's got a collector's edition over there. But no,
I can vouch for it.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, thank you for reading it, Nick. Quite a few people that who also listen to the podcast and stuff have checked it out. So, a little bit of vote of approval, but it'll be free. That's mainly what I'm trying to get out. So it'll be free next week, leading into Halloween. So you can pick up the audio or the ebook, and keep it forever. So you can read it at your leisure. But with that said, that's all I got for this episode. And Nick, do you have anything else to say?
We might have been a little bit rusty, but I think this turned out really well, Sri. It
started
covered
off
a lot of
rusty,
ground,
but we went, we absolutely did. And you know what? We covered a lot of ground, and I think we actually did it in a reasonable time too, because we're just over 2 hours. I mean, we could have gone 2.5 with the kind of content we had lined up here, but. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Again, we're going to go back to regular episodes from this week. I say that. Nick will be there next episode, right, Nick? And then the one after, or is that?
I should be.
Okay. And then
as
after
far as
that,
I'm aware.
Nick will be tag teaming in another host who will be covering the 2 shows, I think, or right? When he'll be away.
I believe so.
But and then after that, it'll be really interesting to see, because I will be gone for about 3 weeks, and we'll figure out how that's gonna go with who's hosting and everything. So stay tuned. Ever changing over here, but still, nevertheless, we have gone 33 weeks or 32 weeks, because 1 week we had 2 episodes. 32 weeks without missing an episode. You guys got content in those 32 weeks. So hope you guys enjoying the content. Check out watch.respawnstation.com for more. And until next time, people, as always, have a good night, a good morning, and a damn good time.